Louisiana is under the gun from a very dangerous hurricane, one of the worst hurricanes they'll see in the last 10 or 15 years. Good evening, I'm Mike Nasel with the latest on Hurricane Ida, strengthening quickly now in the Gulf of Mexico. You can see that satellite imagery as it approaches the Gulf Coast. We've been watching Ida all day long, and she was sputtering a bit earlier, not really able to get her bearings. However, you can see on that satellite we now have deep convection surrounding the eye, and it is likely to continue to intensify into landfall into a Category 4 hurricane, an extremely dangerous storm. Let's look at the latest now, the latest particulars on Ida. As of 11 p.m. Eastern Time, that's 10 p.m. Central from the National Hurricane Center. It was at 27.2 north, 88.0 west. Winds were 105 now. That's likely to increase over Category 3 strength and then all the way up towards 130, 140 miles an hour before landfall, which would make it at the bottom edge of Category 4, regardless a major hurricane. It's moving northwest still at 16, and the pressure is 964 millibars. Now, 964 right now, let me tell you, when you last heard from me at 11 a.m., it was at 984. So that is a drop of 20 millibars in 12 hours, and at that rate of deepening, once those winds catch up, we will see it strengthen very quickly into a Category 3 and then a Category 4 hurricane. We do have a hurricane warning in effect, obviously, from Intracoastal City, Louisiana to the mouth of the Pearl River, Lake Pontchartrain, Lake Maurepas, and downtown New Orleans. You guys are in that hurricane warning, okay? We also have a tropical storm warning from Cameron to Intracoastal City on the western side of the hurricane, and from the mouth of the Pearl River to the Alabama-Florida border on the eastern side of the hurricane, with the possibilities that you get tropical storm force conditions there. The tropical storm force winds, mind you, I should note, they now extend outward 120 miles away from the center of the storm. So it's become a larger storm, and hurricane force winds are outward 35 miles from the eye. And we could continue to see it get larger, not just stronger, but larger before it makes landfall. Now here's the latest satellite imagery, and boy, this is not good. This is what I was telling you at the start of the update. Look at where I'm going to circle right here. You see these dark clouds, these black clouds here? That's the highest, coldest cloud tops building up. The storm, the hurricane growing in strength. Notice how at the beginning of this loop, they were a little bit ragged, and now they completely encompass the eye of the hurricane. And in that ring, we're going to see it strengthen. And we've already seen the pressures fall, so now it's just a matter of time waiting for those winds to catch up and it becoming a major hurricane. And you can see that the upper level winds are kind of pointing in the direction that it's going to go, which is right off towards the northwest here. So right into the southeastern coastline of Louisiana, central Louisiana, a very severe hit it looks like from a very dangerous storm. Look at that New Orleans radar, look at that eye. The well-defined eye is pretty well-defined there of Hurricane Ida. And again, these rain bands are going to get worse and worse. Some of the oil rigs offshore the Mississippi Delta have already recorded wind gusts closing in on hurricane force. And as we go through the overnight hours, that's only going to get worse and worse. Again, as I said, the hurricane force winds are 35 miles out from the center, but then the tropical storm force winds are 120 miles out. And to say nothing of the severe weather and the damaging winds you could get in these individual rain bands around the hurricane. So it's starting, folks. It's on its way. Now here's the map of the track from the Hurricane Center. You can see they shifted it eastward. We've been seeing the hurricane all day long move to the right of the models, to the right of the forecast, and that is worse and worse news for New Orleans because you guys are going to be on the right side of the hurricane, which is the strongest side. You can see right now the official forecast from the Hurricane Center makes landfall very near Grand Isle or Port Fourchon down here, and a lot of oil refineries and businesses down there. It's bad news all the way around, and that could have nationwide impact. And after that, it moves straight on up all the way to the west of Lake Pontchartrain. But if you guys have that wind there, you could have water rises all the way into Plaquemines Parish, areas like Burris, areas like Venice, areas there of Grand Isle. Oh, I don't want to see Grand Isle. If anybody is still in Grand Isle, get to higher ground right away because this water rise is going to begin very, very quickly. Some of the areas down there, as I zoom in on where the hurricane's expected to track, you could see Golden Meadow. Let's take a look at Golden Meadow. This is from Google Earth, and you can see you do have the houses built up. A lot of a lot of industrial workers there, a lot of businesses. You can see a business here. This is a Bada Bing bait shop. Live shrimp and live croaker. Put the croaker on the hook and catch a fish. Not today. All these areas down here and areas like that are directly where the hurricane is expected to cross. So sometime during the evening tomorrow is when these areas will be under the gun from what is expected to be a Category 4 hurricane. Here's some of the latest observations. I've been refreshing this. These are near the storm. Wind gusts 50 miles per hour here, 50 miles per hour. We're not there yet, but it's starting to get there. And the pressure is dropping and the winds are kicking up. Look at how hot some of these water temperatures are, 85 degrees. That's why Hurricane Ida is likely to strengthen right up into the landfall, and that's very, very bad news. This is the National Hurricane Center's storm surge flood map, and it shows the potential inundation. Anything in red is over 9 feet. You could see all of those areas I just spoke of completely underwater. Very, very possible. Golden Meadow, 6-9 feet easy. And again, we do have these areas protected by levees, but you got to hope the levees hold. Now, somebody made a good point. In the 16 years since Hurricane Katrina, those levees have undergone a lot of money to beef them up and tighten them up and make them better. But you're dealing with a hurricane of extreme intensity, and you don't know what kind of water rises you're going to have. At the very least, you could have very, very bad flooding over areas there of Plaquemines Parish and Jefferson, Jefferson, Plaquemines, and even in Orleans Parish where the levees are. So again, we're going to watch this. The water rise is expected to be 10 to 15 feet, anywhere from Morgan City to the mouth of the Mississippi River. These areas are so low-lying. I showed you that picture of Golden Meadow on Google Earth. They're so flat, so swampy, so moist and low-lying that they're probably going to be underwater shortly, because you're going to have the dome of water from the hurricane start to come in with crashing waves on top of that, some tremendous wave heights that we're likely to see. To say nothing of the rainfall, look at this, 10, 15, even 20 inches in the path of the hurricane, and that's just going to soak southeastern Louisiana all the way up into Mississippi. Don't forget about Mississippi and Alabama. You guys are going to get an onshore flow, storm surge, waves, rain. You're going to get hit by this hurricane too, but it's not going to be of the same magnitude of what they're going to get down here in southeast Louisiana. This is the 5-day river flood outlook, and you can see significant chance of river flooding all throughout areas there of Mississippi. If you're in Hammond, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Morgan City, Berwick, all those locations, batten down the hatches, get to higher ground, expect extreme wind damage, power outages, and heavy, heavy rain and flooding. The key messages for Hurricane Ida, I got to go over this from the National Hurricane Center. Number one, there is a danger of life-threatening surge inundation Sunday along Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and there is a storm surge warning out. In fact, that storm surge warning is from east of Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge in Louisiana all the way over to the Alabama-Florida border. That's Vermilion Bay, Lake Borgne, Lake Pontchartrain, Lake Maurepas, and Mobile Bay. And that's an extremely life-threatening inundation of 9 feet or greater above ground level. Could be way higher than that in some areas. And overtopping of local levees outside of the hurricane and storm damage risk reduction system is possible, where local inundation values may be higher. So some of those levees may be toppled throughout southeastern Louisiana. Interests throughout that warning area need to follow any advice given by their local officials. Number two, Ida is expected to be an extremely dangerous major hurricane when it reaches the coast. At best, a Category 3, probably a Category 4. Hurricane force winds are expected on Sunday in portions of that hurricane warning area, including in metropolitan New Orleans, with potentially catastrophic wind damage wherever that core moves on shore. Remember, the worst winds are right in that eye wall, right around the eye. The eye's calm, the eye wall's where the violence is. And actions to protect life and property should be rushed to completion. Number three, those damaging winds and gusts especially will be spreading inland near the track and center of Ida across southeast Louisiana and southwest Mississippi into early Monday. Widespread tree damage, power outages, very likely. Finally, number four, Ida is likely to produce heavy rainfall Sunday into Monday across the central Gulf Coast. from southeast Louisiana, coastal Mississippi, Alabama, considerable flash urban and significant river flooding, as I showed you on that graphic. And as Ida moves inland, significant flooding impacts are possible across the lower Mississippi, Tennessee, and even the Ohio River valleys through Wednesday. Again, this is all going to spread on up, as they always do, and cause more havoc. There's a picture of myself 16 years ago on this night, August 28th, 2005, tracking Hurricane Katrina. Now, what makes this storm different from Katrina, Katrina was a Category 5, and it weakened to a 3 when it came on shore. Ida is a Category 2, forecast to be a Category 4 when it moves on shore. So in some way, this could be stronger, at least as far as the winds are, than Hurricane Katrina was. But hopefully it's not as bad. And again, somebody said, each hurricane's unique. There's no comparison. Katrina was Katrina, and Irma was Irma, and obviously Ida is going to be Ida. So that'll do it this time on the tropics. I'll be back with continuing coverage on our YouTube channel as Hurricane Ida, a very serious storm, continues that march right on up towards the northwest, closing in on the coastline there of Louisiana. A very, very dangerous hurricane, forecast to be a Category 4 storm at landfall. Stay tuned for further updates as Hurricane Ida approaches.